Hi again, everybody. I'm here this time with McBain Mkandawire, who is the Chief Executive of one of Progressio's amazing partner organisations, and he is going to be speaking at our side event this afternoon. So I'll let McBain introduce himself.
My name is McBain Mkandawire. I'm the Executive Director of Youth Need and Counseling, YONECO, which is a local organisation in Malawi, and it's a partner of Progressio. The organization operates in a number of areas, a number of districts across the country. It uses a number of tools, including IT tools, working on issues of gender-based violence, HIV and AIDS, youth development and child protection. It is an organization that has also built its confidence and reputation around the issues to do with the children. Recently, I think we have moved to run the national helpline, which we have been doing that for the last 10 years now. And then we are also running the radio station, a youth radio station that is focusing on issues of young people. And with the Progressio, we are partnering on the ICS volunteers, and this has been quite an interesting aspect, because just this morning, as I was talking to the team, the group is about to leave, and everyone is excited about what added value it has had. And the coaching district manager, Square's Derek Bande in Katabe, he said he doesn't regret having the volunteers, because they have actually increased his reach and also support towards the implementation of the activities that are there.
Amazing.
Talking about the CSW60 this afternoon panel event, I will be talking on the issues to do with gender-based violence. How can we prevent it as a cultural issue, and also how do we make sure that the women are protected at various levels, and also to ensure that there is support from men. For a man talking about gender-based violence, sometimes it becomes challenging, because people do ask, men are perpetrators of violence, but it's not all men. At the same time, if we look at it from the right perspective, I think then we should be able to look at how we can prevent. Actually, it's about coexistence between men and women for economic development. And also looking at how can we empower women, because the whole issue now is about empowerment as we move into the next 15 years of the Sustainable Development Goals. How can we empower the women? How can we make sure that women are empowered enough to be able to make informed decisions? Because that is where the balance lacks when you look at the issues of at community level, where there is a lot of power balance, the issues of resources, the issues of education, the issues of the power of the men versus the women. But also a very critical point that I would want to bring into the attention of the team this afternoon is the issue around who is most at risk. Because sometimes we begin to think that maybe the men are violent, and we have not been able to begin to start looking at it. And this is an issue that I would want to pursue with the Progressio in terms of our potential project that we're thinking about of masculinity. Is the whole issue of the whole issue of are men scared? Because sometimes it is about the lack of self-esteem of the men that makes them to be violent as a defensive mechanism. But I think we are not doing much in terms of understanding that research. I have seen the studies that have gone into the prison for the men who have been violent, and looking at them in the prison. But we are not looking at much at the community level and begin to say what is the issue.
And that has so much to do with the cultural and social norms and the way that we are brought up and socialized and taught to behave.
Exactly. Being taught to be a man. And you know, in a society they will always say, don't cry because you are a man. And that has got a socialization effect. And the emotions that the men will have inside them will make them to be more vulnerable and frustrated, and then react, and then the reaction becomes violence. But in most cases we don't want to address that, and it would be important that it's time probably now that we should begin to look at what are these issues that are making men more violent, and how can we address them.
And do you think that the Malawi government, so obviously you work in Malawi and there is a government there that's kind of existing and is there to protect its people as well, do you think that the government is doing enough in terms of their laws and legislation and the tools that they have available to them?
The laws and registrations and the tools available are there. For example, Malawi is one country that has got the Gender Equality Act, has got the Domestic Violence Prevention Act, and then there is an act on the Marriage and the Family Relations Act. You also have an act on child protection.
So there's a lot there in the architecture.
But the challenge is, how do we implement those? How do we translate the laws into practice? How do we make sure that everybody understands the law from a perspective of social human being, and be able to say the law is there to ensure that people are protected, but at the same time, how do we make sure aware of that law? Being aware of the law, not in the context of a punitive context, but from a context of saying, if we follow these basic rules of living, then we are bound to have a situation
and
where...
Do you find that most of the people that you come into contact with, I don't want to call them the beneficiaries, but the people that you work with, do you find that they do have an awareness of...
The awareness is limited, and that's one reason why we have a number of programs that we are putting across to create awareness, but also for some of the laws. For example, the Gender Equality Act and the Family Relations Bill, they have not, the law is there, but they have not been actualized, because one of the problems is we do not have the guidelines for the implementation of the law, which is something that has to be...
So we need to really drill down.
Yes, to go down and get to the root of it and begin to implement.
Perfect. So I'm going to move on a little bit, although this is a really kind of interesting conversation for me, especially having lived in Malawi for a short time. I just kind of wanted to know why CSW is important to you, why you've come this year, and why you kind of value it as a forum.
Well, for me personally, and for YONECO as an organization, we have got a whole component of women empowerment. Actually, this time around, in our new strategic plan, the program has been changed to look at gender and women empowerment. So it's a huge component of organization who are dealing with a number of issues of women. So the CSW 60 for me personally, and for YONECO as an organization, is a forum where we should also learn to be able to understand what is the global movement around the women and gender development, and also to see how are these being translated at country level. Because at UN level there is a policy, like the negotiations that are taking place for tomorrow. We are looking at the negotiations, the language that is going to...
So the agreed conclusion.
So the agreed conclusion, how are they going to be translated at country level? And that's part of my mission, to say, okay, if these are the agreed conclusion, are we going to translate this as a country? And therefore, as an activist, how do I make sure that I follow up with the government? How does YONECO make sure that publicize the agreed conclusion, so that the people should be aware that...
So you want to be here because you want to know exactly what your government is signing up to, and then you want to know that they've got something that they have to go back and enforce.
And exactly to make sure that when they are enforcing, when we are asking questions, we should be saying, hang on, the agreed conclusion that we are in, this is what you signed up to. Are you implementing it?
So the role of
yes. But at the same time, I think it is also important to note that it's also a learning avenue, because there are a lot of things happening around, and you are also able to participate in a number of them, and you are able to learn from what things can you take. And sitting in different forums over the last 3 days, it gives me an opportunity. Actually, some of the things I'm already beginning to say, okay, maybe this one we can implement, this one we can move forward, and so on and so forth. So I think it's also a big learning event for me.
Of course.
And for the organization.
And then finally, McBain, the last question I have for you is, what inspires you to do this work? Why, as a man, do you feel called to get involved in this fight for justice? What made you stand up, and why are you so committed?
I think two things. One is the person, very personal. The other one is the profession. My personal bit comes from my growing up, living with a father who was working and a mother who was not working. And I've always said that I think if my mother had the education, probably would have lived better. So that's from a very personal perspective. But from professional perspective, in the time I started teaching, I encountered a girl who got pregnant out of a situation that was created because we were taking girls to events, and those events, girls would be taken for the whole day without food. And in this particular event, the girl that I interacted with had sex with someone they met at the function, and that was pregnancy. And the reaction to the school's reaction to that is something that inspired me quite a lot, because the school's reaction was, she has to go. Now, I'm a chemist by training, and I was teaching physical science, and it's one of those hard subjects for girls. And this was one of my bright girls. And I stood up and I said, okay, for this one, I think I have to meet the parents. So when I met the parents and had a discussion, and he told the parents, at that time the law in Malawi was you get pregnant, you are dismissed, that's the end of you. So I said to the parents, this girl, the problem is with all of us, because one, we have not given them the opportunity to understand what their sexual life is, but on the other hand, a situation was created and any other girl would be involved in that. Believe you me, at that point I had said I am not going to take girls to the outing again. And because of that and the political environment in the country at that time, I was transferred back to my region because of that.
But so you kind of took the hit very personally.
Yeah, but then after that, 5 years down the line, I was promoted to go and be a lecturer in chemistry and chemistry education. And when I arrived in the Zomba town, which is a university town.
Yeah, I've been to Zomba myself.
The girl that I met was the same girl.
No way.
At a supermarket. And when he says, Akunzis, meaning teacher, I turned around and I said, hi, what are you doing here? And she said, I'm second year at the University of Malawi.
Amazing.
Doing science education. And the question that I'm trying to answer is, how many such girls are we losing?
Yeah.
After getting pregnant, we dump them out. Immediately, I went to my college, which was the Mass College of Education, to ask them to put this into practice and begin to start saying, can teachers be prepared enough to provide the counseling support for the girls?
To make sure that pregnancy is not the end of their education.
Yes, but then the college said, no, this cannot happen. So I decided to pursue it outside that.
So you just started your own organization and started fighting?
Yes, and at this point, I want to say the passion has been, how many girls are we losing out? And that's why we've got a very big component that is looking at issues of girls' education and also looking at the empowerment of girls and the like. But I must say that I'm happy, I don't regret what I'm doing, and it's something that is in my blood.
Yes.
And I would want to see as many girls getting through their education as much as possible, and also making sure that the girls are indeed being empowered to change the issues that they're supposed to be dealing with.
Fantastic. Well, that's why McBain is a great partner for Progressio, and we're so pleased to have him at CSW with us. We will be filming this afternoon at the side event, just a panel discussion. So if you want to hear more about McBain's work and more about his speech to the event later, you can check back. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.